Let's get into it. Coach Colin News here. We got a very interesting clip from John Legend. A very propagandic clip from Mr. John Legend. Someone who's been quiet for a very long time. Someone whose wife had very, 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 very questionable tweets directed at younger people. I won't say more than that. They were vile tweets, in my opinion. Someone who seems a little bit captured has something very important to say. And he's saying it with, how is her name pronounced? Jen Psaki? Wasn't she the White House press secretary at one point and then moved on to have a show on MSNBC? No correlation there. No correlation whatsoever. I'm sure she takes her talking points from her own head. She's a journalist, right? Now, everybody knows that when you're going to vote Biden, you can't just say, I'm going to vote for Biden. In fact, you just say that at the end real quick, but you got to fill it up with some terrible, terrible things to say about Trump. Otherwise, you're going against the narrative. And if you go against the narrative, you're going to have a very big problem on your hands. Maybe some institution, agency, I don't know, people will dig up your wife's tweets and they'll show everybody how questionable they were. But if you follow the narrative, we will forget about all that and we will put you in a shining light once again, Mr. Legend. Listen to what he has to say.
Reason why we care so much about
Of course I have it that fast all the time. You guys know me. Jeez, let's go.
trial freedom is because our jails end up housing so many people and they're not set up to make people's lives better. And what ends up happening is people who are innocent until they're proven guilty. So in our system, everybody knows that. You watch Law and Order, you watch the life and times of Donald Trump, every trial that he's a part of. You notice he's not spending time in jail before he goes to trial. He's innocent until he's proven guilty. And we all know that. But what happens with folks who can't afford bail is they have to languish in jail until their case. I think what ends up happening is we get kind of ruled by the anecdote. The New York Post will run a story, or Fox News will run a story, or the local news will run a story, and they'll say this one person got out of jail on bail and they did this crime. But the actual numbers, the actual data is resoundingly clear that folks that benefit from pretrial freedom don't go out and commit more crimes.
We just showed a clip of part of the gathering. You hosted at your own home.
We hosted at our house. We worked with a group called Zealous that kind of gathered these folks from all around the country. And we had a gathering at my house. And we wanted to really humanize the really positive effects of pretrial freedom and make sure people really understood the stories that were attached to that and the lives that were attached to that and the families that were attached to that. And so we had people come to my house and we talked about it.
One of the things that you hear from Trump's supporters is that he signed the First Step Act in 2018. He's a partner in this effort. What do you say to people who say, "Oh no, he would be an ally. Look what he did in 2018."
He's not been an ally. I mean, I think the First Step Act was fine. It was a very kind of small reform. And to be honest, most of the reform we need is on the local and state level because most incarceration is local and state, and most of the laws that end up being criminally enforced are local and state laws. That being said, at the same time, he's claiming credit for those small things. He's also saying, if people are stealing something, they should get shot in the middle of the store. When we protested the killing of George Floyd, he was advocating for the military to shoot us in the streets. he's made it clear throughout his life that he believes black people are inferior. Like he believes that to his core, in his bones. He wouldn't let us live in his buildings back in the day. But also, when you hear some of the stray comments he makes, he clearly believes in a genetic hierarchy of humanity and is racially determined. So he is a tried and true, like, dyed-in-the-wool racist. Like, in the core of his being, he's a racist. So I don't want to hear what he has to say about what he's done for black people. He's done very little for us. And he is, at his core, truly a racist. And you even hear what he says about immigration and which countries he wants people to come in from. They all are very white.
That is true. That's something pretty universal about them. So I knew you were active on the campaign trail in 2020. You have a lot on your plate. Are you going to be out there campaigning for Joe Biden this fall?
Yeah, we'll get out there probably later in the year as it gets close to people making decisions about when it's time to vote. I think the choice is very clear. There's a lot been said about age and all these other things. Both of them are old. But one of them is a really decent man who's done a lot to improve lives in this country, and that's Joe Biden. That's who I'm going to be voting for.
And that's enough. Thanks, John. We know what's going on here, buddy. Okay? Very interesting. Oh, I love the face I caught her in. Perfect. That sums her up. Very interesting. So in order for him to endorse Biden, because that's all this is, has nothing to do with, and just in case you missed the term, pre-trial freedom. It has nothing to do with that. And it has everything to do with getting a black person, because Biden did his whole Wawa visit where he shook some black kid's hand. He did his fried chicken visit where he sat with a father and two sons and they all ate chicken, and it was fantastic. Like chicken is, you know. I mean, you know I love chicken. He did all that, and it didn't help at all. People from the hood, people who are rappers, people from the inner cities, black people from all ranges of income are starting to move towards Trump. So, of course, the thing that they do the most is they grab celebrities. When it comes to the left, the first thing and the last thing, and the thing that they'll do throughout the entire election cycle, is grab celebrities and make them endorse who you need to endorse. And so much so that nowadays, when I see a celebrity come out like John did, I go, oh, I have to watch out for this candidate. This candidate has something going on. When I saw Diddy saying vote or die and he was dancing, when I saw Jay-Z performing for Obama, I was like, that's weird. When I started hearing Obama in every song, I was like, that's odd. What's going on here? When I saw Offset, I think that's his name, Cardi B's husband, when I saw him performing for Joe Biden, then he said, black people, go out, vote, y'all. That's what he said at the end. It started to become clear what was going on. Hillary Clinton sitting down with the Breakfast Club, Charlemagne the God with a bottle of hot sauce inside of her purse that's completely empty and only has hot sauce in it. Started understanding what was going on. So when I see John Legend doing this, I get it. I get what's going on completely. And I just like to say, think about how much he had to say about Trump and what he had to actually say about Biden. He didn't actually have a case for Biden. And that's how you also know that this is not very genuine. He just says he's a decent man who's done a lot for people's lives. It's less than a sentence. It's one sentence. Probably 0.9 of a sentence. Like, what? That's all you have to say? And on top of that, the answer is very clear, but you don't have a case for your answer? That's weird. That's very weird, John, especially for someone who's so, pretrial freedom. And why don't you talk about Biden in regards to that? Because we know where we're going to end up, right? We're going to end up at the 1994 crime bill. We can't end up there if we're trying to smear Trump and endorse Biden. We can't end up at the 1994 crime bill. We cannot do it. Don't even look into it, people. Don't even search it up. Don't search up Biden talking about super predators. Who was he talking about? I don't know. I don't know. He was calling somebody a super predator. I don't know. Forget about it. Let's push that aside. Very, very interesting. So he had a lot to say about Trump. First off, the whole notion of pretrial freedom. I understand what he's saying. He wants anyone who's arrested to just be able to, if they're up for a court case, they should be able to spend it at home. But everybody knows that that can't be a thing for everybody because some people are dangerous. I did a video about a woman who threatened to kill city council members. Her bail was set at $1 million because she actually threatened to hurt a bunch of people, like a dozen people. She said that she'll come to their house and get them. She said that. So she can't have pretrial freedom. It would be nice, but she's a risk. Some people are a risk. So when he brings up Donald Trump, you see Donald Trump, he doesn't have to. Yeah, well, like you said, Donald Trump is actually older. He's much older, and he's not really a threat. Especially when the case is Mar-a-Lago's worth $18 million. It's not worth this much. And what's going on here? That kind of crime is probably going to have you not having to spend time in jail. Or if you have a bail that's set, it's probably going to be pretty low because you're not a risk. But he knows that. But again, when you look at these people who are severely left-leaning, that's what I like to call it now. Not just far left or anything. I say severely left-leaning. They always have an interest in policies that are dangerous to citizens. So this one, I mean, when you really break it down, he's looking to have everyone who is arrested for any crime, if they're going to go to jail or if they're facing jail time, they should just be able to be out on the street. That's what he's looking for. That's dangerous. Not for everybody, but for all the dangerous cases, you're not taking that into consideration whatsoever. Then he's also talking about Trump being against looting and riots. Say he has this thing where he said, why aren't these people getting shot? He wasn't talking about black people. He was talking about, and I always bring this point up, he wasn't talking about black people. And yes, it was a little rambunctious. He was really excited. I get it, 100%. But he was talking about these people who go in the stores, take whatever they want and leave. And they do it in crowds like a flash mob. And they just take everything. And they're doing it to the point where stores actually have to close up and leave that area. Because it just keeps happening consistently. Because these people are allowed to do it to the tune of $950. Multiple times a day. They could do it 8 times a day if they wanted to, as long as they just stay under that amount. So yeah, he said that. But also, it's crazy racist. I always bring this point up. It's so racist to assume that everyone who's stealing and rioting is black. And that's what he does when he says that statement. Trump said it about the people. He didn't say black people. He didn't say all these blacks who are running around in these stores. He didn't say that. But John's assuming that. He's racist because he wants those, what he said about the looters. Obviously, that's racist. It's like, no, John, not every looter's black. Surprise, surprise, millionaire person who's been a millionaire for 2 or 3 decades now. Then he also talks about how Trump was against the BLM riots and what he was saying about those people. I know for fact, I went to at least 20 different BLM protests to see what was going on. This is a very mixed crowd. Again, so to call that, to say that he's racist because he didn't support those riots, or maybe even because he called them riots. Again, not all black people were in those riots. Yes, it was for Black Lives Matter, but it wasn't all black people. In some situations, it was more white people than black people. So what are you saying, John? I have to focus on this because they bring it up so much, and it's like they don't even know how it sounds as they're saying it. So interesting. And then, of course, we have to go through the amazing statements of he's been racist throughout his life. It's in his bones. He believes in a genetic hierarchy. When has he ever said, please, anybody who could show me evidence of that, please show me, where he said, literally, a genetic hierarchy. When have you ever heard Donald Trump say, there's a genetic hierarchy? And I just feel like I'm at the top of it. I don't know about anybody else here. I've never heard him say anything like that. To say that he's been like that throughout his life. If we actually, again, if we go back and we go to the 1994 crime bill that Biden was introducing and pushing with all his might while calling black people super predators. At that time, Trump was dating black supermodels. You see, you understand? It's so Orwellian what they expect us to believe, what they push aside. They just go, we're taking out this part of history. That's not there anymore. You get this part of history, and that's what you believe. If you go against it, you're a conspiracy theorist, and we don't want to hear anything from you. It's wild. So wild. He wouldn't let us live in his buildings. Knowing John Legend and what he thinks should be going on in the world, he's probably like, I couldn't believe they wouldn't let us live in the buildings for free or something. You could live. There have always been black people living in Trump buildings. If you can pay, everybody knows the guy's a businessman. If you can pay, you're in. If you got the deposit, if you're buying a unit, whatever it is, you're in. If you're a business owner, you're in. He doesn't care who it is. He doesn't care who it is. If your credit's horrible, maybe you're not in. But guess what? Again, and I know I have to say it for John Legend and people who think like him, not every person with bad credit is black. It's so odd to have to explain this. And then honestly, for him to say that Trump's not an ally, it really makes you wonder, what is an ally? How deep does it go for someone to have to be an ally? What do they have to do for John Legend to be considered an ally? Because Trump has done a hell of a lot for black people in his presidency, right? And then you go and you think about like everything he's done, but you don't even have to just focus on that. Focus on what the actual black community is saying. The ones who actually feel the economy now and felt the economy then, they feel it. And listen, when the economy gets fixed, or when it was much better, that's not done for black people. Trump just did that for Americans. He did that for everybody. He wanted the economy to be good for everybody, and everybody felt it. And the black community remembers. And again, I shouldn't even just say that. Not just the black community. The lower class, middle class, they felt it because they have to think about things like that. If prices get too high in any regard, they have to think about, should I get this or should I get this? Or if I get this, they have to start pinching pennies. They're the class that has to do it. And there's white and black people and brown people and Asian people in that class. And they remember. Just so interesting to hear somebody say things like that and give no proof and just repeat over and over again. Within literally 2.5 minutes, he said he's a racist like 6 times. 6 different times he's racist. In his bones, he's racist. Genetic hierarchy, he's racist. So, and he's sitting with somebody who used to be the White House press secretary. Now she's on MSNBC. This is propaganda at its finest. It really is. Like, I don't know how you can not be any more like this is transparent at this point. Then at the end, hey, you gonna vote for Biden? Yeah, we're gonna be campaigning near the end of the year when people have, it's very clear, one man, they're both old and one man's decent and one man's not, and I have no proof for what I'm saying, but remember my songs. That's literally what they're expecting from you. Just remember how he made you feel with those songs. John Legend, he's a nice guy. His wife's Alicia Keys. I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired of them just throwing celebrities in our faces and just being like, here, he said it. Here, he said it. Here, she said it. Must be true. That's why I have that shirt that says stop worshiping celebrities. Anytime they always lead you down the wrong path. They're always looking to lead you down the wrong path. All they do is pretend for a living. That's all they do. All they do is perform almost every day of their lives. And we're supposed to take him serious now? Now I'm supposed to believe this is a sincere face? Now? After you've been performing for decades? Making millions of dollars? Your wife's a performer? Your friends are performers? I said his wife's Alicia Keys. His wife's not Alicia Keys. His wife is Christy Teigen, I believe. I think so. Even still, she's a performer herself. Like, what am I, you know what I mean? I'm just not believing these people anymore. Absolutely ridiculous. And I had to say all that in Trump's defense. And you guys all know, if you've watched this channel before, I have a bias. I like Trump, but at least I'm willing to admit it. At least when I bring up the 1994 crime bill, that's a real thing that you can look into. I'm not just saying, I haven't even said the words racist in regards to Biden. I'm just saying what he said. I'm just saying super predator, and I'm saying 1994 crime bill, and you can look it up. You can see what it did to black people. I don't have to make up anything. Go check it out. Anyways, guys, like, subscribe, share, and let me know what you think about Mr. John Legend and his rant, or his genuine feelings on things. Pre-trial freedom. Anyway, before I get into another rant here, I'm out.